Have you ever looked out at your garden in late fall or winter only to feel disappointed? The frost comes, the leaves shrivel, and suddenly your once lively garden turns into bare soil. For many gardeners, especially here in the US, in Canada, and in the United Kingdom, winter feels like the end of growing season. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be? What if I told you that your garden could still give you food even in the coldest months and even when frost is painting everything white? If you've been letting your soil rest all winter long, you've been missing out on some of the most rewarding crops you can grow. Today, I'm going to share with you 9 frost-resistant vegetables you can plant now. Vegetables that not only survive frost, but actually taste better because of it. And trust me, when you discover these crops, you'll never look at winter gardening the same way again. Before I dive in, let me quickly invite you to subscribe to this channel. If you love the idea of a garden that gives back year-round, not just in the warm months, then you're in the right place. Subscribe now and join our community of gardeners who believe in growing abundance no matter the season. Now, let's begin with the first frost warrior, number 1, spinach. Spinach is one of those crops that almost seems to laugh at frost. Gardeners in Canada and the northern US, especially zones 6 through 4, swear by spinach as their go-to winter green. The leaves are low to the ground, and the plant has a natural ability to withstand cold snaps. Some varieties, like Winter Bloomsdale, are particularly hardy and are perfect for gardeners looking to stretch the season. Here's the magic of spinach. It can actually grow under snow. That's right, if you plant it in fall and give it a little protection, such as a cold frame or hoop house, it will keep producing even as snow blankets your garden. And when spring returns, that same spinach will bounce back and give you another flush of growth before bolting. I want you to picture this. Snow may be covering your yard, but beneath a simple row cover, bright green spinach is waiting for you. In the middle of February, while your neighbors are dreaming of spring, you'll be harvesting fresh leaves for a warm quiche or a nutrient-packed smoothie. That's not just gardening, that's freedom from depending on the store. Spinach also has a secret most gardeners don't know. The flavor actually improves in the cold. Like kale, spinach produces more sugars when temperatures drop, giving the leaves a richer taste. So instead of struggling with tough summer spinach, you'll get tender leaves packed with nutrients during the coldest months of the year. And here's something to keep in mind. If you're gardening in the United Kingdom, spinach is one of the easiest winter crops to grow in mild areas like southern England. A little protection is all it takes to keep your plants happy through the darker months. Let's pause here. I want to ask you a question. Have you ever harvested vegetables in the middle of winter? Tell me in the comments below. I'd love to hear your story. And if you haven't, don't worry. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which crops to try and how to succeed. In part 2, we'll continue with more frost-resistant champions, including a root crop that gets sweeter and crunchier the colder it gets. You won't want to miss it. Number 2, kale. If there's one vegetable that proves winter doesn't have to stop your garden, it's kale. This leafy green is practically a legend when it comes to cold tolerance. In fact, kale not only survives frost, it thrives in it. Many gardeners across USDA zones 7 down to 5, even some in zone 4, report that their kale grows sweeter after a light frost. The cold triggers the plant to produce natural sugars, which protect the leaves from freezing and give you a better tasting harvest. Think about that for a moment. Instead of bitter greens, you get tender, slightly sweet leaves right in the middle of winter. Imagine walking into your backyard in December, brushing a bit of frost off the leaves, and harvesting fresh kale for a hearty soup or a nutritious salad. While others are buying expensive out-of-season greens at the grocery store, you're gathering them from your own soil. If you want success with kale in cold climates, here's a simple tip. Start planting in late summer to early fall. By the time the frost sets in, your kale will be strong enough to handle it. And in regions like the Pacific Northwest or parts of New England, where winters are damp and chilly, kale often stays green all season long with little protection. A row cover or even a layer of straw can help if your area gets heavy snow. Now let's move to our third frost fighter. Number third, garlic. If you've ever wondered whether there's a crop you can plant before winter that will practically take care of itself, garlic is your answer. Garlic is one of the easiest and most reliable frost-resistant vegetables to grow. In fact, garlic actually needs cold weather to grow properly. The frost and freeze of winter help the cloves develop into large, healthy bulbs by summer. Here's how it works. Gardeners in the United States, especially in USDA zones 3 through 7, typically plant garlic in the fall, around October or November, before the ground freezes. Canadian gardeners, particularly in Ontario, British Columbia, and even as far north as Alberta, also have great success with fall planting. In the United Kingdom, garlic is a beloved winter crop, especially in southern England where the soil rarely freezes too deeply. Once planted, garlic settles in and sends roots deep into the soil. When the frost comes, it simply goes dormant, resting quietly under the soil until spring. Then, as the weather warms, those green shoots reappear, and by midsummer, you'll have big, flavorful bulbs ready to harvest. The beauty of garlic is that you don't need to fuss over it. It's one of those planted-and-forget-it crops. All you need is a sunny spot and well-drained soil. Add a layer of mulch, straw works beautifully, and the frost will be no problem at all. And here's a tip many gardeners don't know. Hardneck garlic varieties, which are perfect for colder regions like the northern U.S. and Canada, actually taste better and produce scapes, those curly green shoots you can harvest in early summer. They're delicious in stir-fries and salads. Soft-neck varieties, on the other hand, are more common in milder areas like the southern U.S. or the U.K. So while garlic might not give you a harvest during the winter itself, it's a frost champion because the cold is what makes it thrive. And when you finally pull those bulbs out of the soil, you'll realize it was worth the wait. Number 4. Carrots. Carrots are another vegetable that will completely change how you see winter gardening. Most people think of carrots as a summer or fall crop, but the truth is they are one of the sweetest rewards of a frosty garden. Here's why. When the temperature drops, carrots respond by producing natural sugars. These sugars act like antifreeze, protecting the roots from freezing. The result? Carrots that taste sweeter, crunchier, and far better than anything you'll buy in a store during winter. Gardeners in USDA zones 4 through 8 can easily overwinter carrots with a little care. In Canada, carrots are often grown in places like Quebec and British Columbia, well into the colder months. And in the UK, especially in areas with mild winters, carrots can be harvested straight out of the soil almost year-round if properly protected. Imagine walking into your garden in January, brushing away a little straw mulch, and pulling out bright orange carrots that snap in your hand and taste like candy. That's the magic of frost-sweetened carrots. The key is planting them at the right time. Sow your carrot seeds in late summer to early fall so the plants are well established before hard frosts hit. Then, as winter sets in, cover the bed with a thick layer of mulch, straw, leaves, or even wood chips. This keeps the soil insulated so the carrots don't freeze solid. They'll stay crisp and fresh in the ground, ready for you to harvest whenever you need them. One more tip. Varieties like Nepali and Autumn King are known for their ability to handle colder weather. Many gardeners in northern climates swear by these because they store so well in the soil during winter. I want you to imagine this. While everyone else is stuck buying bland, shipped-in carrots from the grocery store, you're pulling out sweet, frost-kissed carrots right from your own backyard. That's not just gardening. That's a little taste of victory in the middle of winter. Now, let me pause and ask you something. Have you ever tried a carrot right after the frost? If you have, you know the taste is unforgettable. If not, this winter might be your perfect chance. Drop me a comment below and tell me if you'd give it a try. And if you're finding this helpful so far, don't forget, subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll never miss the tips and secrets that can turn your garden into a year-round source of food and joy. Number 5. Cabbage. Cabbage has been a winter staple in gardens across the world for centuries. If you've ever enjoyed a warm bowl of cabbage soup in the middle of winter, you can thank this hardy vegetable for its resilience. Unlike many leafy greens that collapse under frost, cabbage uses its tightly packed layers of leaves to protect itself. Those outer leaves form a natural shield, keeping the inner heart crisp, tender, and delicious. Gardeners in the United States, especially in USDA zones 5 through 9, grow cabbage as a reliable winter crop. In colder zones, a simple covering of mulch or a row cover is enough to keep it safe. In Canada, it thrives in provinces like British Columbia and parts of Ontario, where winters are cold but not too severe. And in the United Kingdom, cabbage is almost a national winter crop. Popular varieties like January King and Savoy are planted in late summer to carry households through the cold months. One of the most exciting things about cabbage is that the flavor actually improves in colder temperatures. Just like kale and carrots, the plant produces sugars to protect itself against frost. This means that winter cabbages often taste sweeter and milder than those grown in the heat of summer. Imagine a head of crisp, frost-touched Savoy cabbage that you can chop into a slaw, sauté for a side dish, or add to hearty stews. Here's a simple tip. Choose varieties bred for winter hardiness. Savoy and January King are fantastic for the UK and northern US regions. If you're in a milder climate, red cabbage and pointed cabbage varieties will do beautifully. Plant them in late summer so they have time to establish before the frost, and you'll be harvesting right through the coldest months. Let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how store-bought cabbage feels tough and bland? That's because it's been shipped long distances and stored for weeks. But when you grow it yourself, especially in cold weather, you'll be amazed by the difference in taste and freshness. Drop me a comment and tell me your favorite way to cook cabbage. I'd love to know. Number 6. Beets. Now let's talk about a root crop that brings a splash of color to winter. Beets. At first glance, you might think beets are too delicate to handle frost, but the truth is, both the roots and the leafy tops are surprisingly hardy. In fact, with the right care, beets can keep producing right through mild winters. Gardeners in USDA Zones 6 and 7 often overwinter beets successfully with just a little mulch to protect them. In Canada, especially in British Columbia's coastal areas, beets can survive under row covers. And in the UK, they're a reliable crop in places with milder winters, like the south of England. Here's the secret. While the leafy tops might suffer a little in harsh frost, the roots beneath the soil stay protected. And when spring comes, those tops will often regrow, giving you a double harvest: nutritious greens and earthy, sweet roots. Just like carrots, beets become sweeter after frost. The plant responds to cold by producing sugars, which makes the roots taste richer and less earthy. If you've ever roasted beets that were harvested in the middle of winter, you know how naturally sweet they can be. They're like nature's candy, packed with vitamins and minerals that your body craves in colder months. For the best results, plant beets in late summer. Cover them with a thick layer of straw or leaves as winter sets in, and you'll be able to harvest throughout the season. Varieties like Detroit Dark Red and Bull Tardy are especially reliable in cooler climates. And here's something many people don't realize. Beet greens are just as valuable as the roots. They're loaded with nutrients and can be cooked just like spinach or Swiss chard. So when you plant beets, you're really getting two crops in one. Picture this. It's the middle of January. the ground is frosty, and you pull back some mulch to reveal vibrant red beets hiding in the soil. You roast them with a drizzle of olive oil, maybe toss the greens into a quick stir-fry, and you've got a meal that warms your body and soul. All from a crop that most people overlook in winter. If you've ever grown beets before, you know the joy of pulling those colorful roots from the soil. But if you haven't, this winter might be the perfect time to start. Tell me in the comments, do you prefer your beets roasted, pickled, or raw? I'd love to see how gardeners around the world enjoy them. And don't forget, if this is inspiring you, hit subscribe now. You'll never miss a tip on how to turn your garden into a year-round source of abundance. Number 7. Onions. Onions might surprise you as a winter crop, but certain varieties are bred specifically to handle cold weather. These are often called winter onions or overwintering onions, and they're a favorite for gardeners in both North America and the United Kingdom. In the United States, gardeners in USDA zones 6 through 8 can plant overwintering onions in late fall and watch them survive frost after frost. In colder zones, like Zone 5, onions can still do well if you give them a bit of protection with straw or row covers. Canadian gardeners, especially those in British Columbia, also grow winter onions successfully, while gardeners in the UK commonly sow them in September or October for harvest the following spring. The beauty of onions is that they're not just frost tolerant, they actually grow steadily during cool weather. Their roots establish deeply before winter, and even if the tops die back during extreme cold, they'll send up fresh green shoots as soon as the days lengthen again. Here's a tip. Varieties like Walla Walla, Senshu Yellow, and Radar are excellent choices for overwintering. They're bred to handle cold weather, and they'll reward you with large, sweet bulbs come spring. And let's not forget the versatility of onions. Whether you're cooking a winter stew, caramelizing them for a roast, or simply enjoying them raw in a salad, onions are the backbone of countless meals. By growing them yourself, you ensure you always have fresh, flavorful bulbs at hand. Imagine walking out to your garden in March or April, when most people are only just starting their seeds indoors, and you're already pulling up onions that have been quietly growing through the frost. That's the advantage of thinking ahead and planting overwintering varieties. Now, let's move to a vegetable that has a bit of a reputation. Some people love it, some people wrinkle their nose, but after a frost, it might just win you over. Number 8. Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts are a true winter warrior. In fact, many gardeners will tell you that sprouts harvested after frost are some of the sweetest and most delicious you'll ever taste. The reason is simple. Like carrots and cabbage, Brussels sprouts produce natural sugars when temperatures drop. This not only protects them from the cold, but also transforms their flavor from bitter to slightly sweet and nutty. Brussels sprouts thrive in USDA zones 4 through 9, making them accessible to a wide range of gardeners in the U.S. In Canada, they're particularly popular in provinces with cooler, moist climates like British Columbia. And in the United Kingdom, they're a classic winter vegetable, often making their way onto Christmas dinner tables. Growing Brussels sprouts takes a bit of patience. They need a long growing season, so you should plant them in midsummer to early fall. By the time winter rolls around, the stalks will be lined with small, firm sprouts ready to withstand frost and snow. Here's a gardener's tip. If you want the best flavor, wait until after the first hard frost to start harvesting. You'll be amazed at how much sweeter they taste. And don't be afraid to leave them in the ground well into winter. They're remarkably hardy and can keep producing until very cold temperatures set in. Picture this. It's a crisp December afternoon. You walk through your garden, past the frosty beds, and there they are. Tall stalks of Brussels sprouts, each one packed with little green gems. You snap them off, bring them inside, roast them with olive oil and a sprinkle of sea salt, And suddenly you understand why gardeners across generations have cherished this crop. Now, I know Brussels sprouts get a bad reputation sometimes. Maybe you grew up being served soggy, overcooked sprouts, but I promise you, frost-sweetened Brussels sprouts, roasted until caramelized, are a completely different experience. They're not just edible, they're crave-worthy. So let me ask you, are you a Brussels sprout lover, or do you still need convincing? Drop me a comment and let me know. I'd love to hear if the frost has changed your opinion of them. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you're enjoying these winter gardening secrets, subscribing is the best way to make sure you don't miss the final vegetable on our list, one that has been feeding families through harsh winters for centuries. Trust me, you'll want to hear this one. Number 9. Parsnips. Parsnips are one of the most cold-hardy root vegetables you can grow. In fact, they need frost to develop their signature sweet, nutty flavor. The chill of winter triggers the roots to convert starch into sugar, giving them a taste that's far richer than carrots or potatoes. Gardeners in the United States love parsnips in USDA zones 2 through 9. That's right, from Minnesota to Texas, parsnips can thrive with the right timing. In Canada, they've long been a staple in cold provinces like Ontario and Quebec. And in the UK, parsnips are deeply tied to winter traditions, often served roasted with Sunday roasts or holiday dinners. Here's how it works. You sow parsnip seeds in the spring or early summer, and they quietly grow all season long. By late fall, they've built up big, strong roots. Instead of harvesting them right away, you leave them in the ground. Frost sets in, the soil hardens, and the parsnips respond by producing sugar. By December or January, those roots taste like sweet, earthy gold. And here's a gardener's secret. You don't have to rush to pull them up. Parsnips can stay in the soil all winter long as the ground doesn't freeze solid. In fact, many gardeners say the later you harvest them, the better they taste. Some even leave them until early spring, digging them up just as the snow begins to melt. Can you imagine the joy of going out into your frozen garden, lifting the soil, and pulling out a root that has been naturally sweetened by the cold itself? It feels almost magical, like nature's reward for your patience. Parsnips aren't just delicious, they're also packed with nutrients. They're high in fiber, rich in vitamin C and K, and a great source of folate. In the cold months, when fresh produce is harder to find, they're a gift from the garden to your table. Now, before we close, I promised to give you a few bonus tips for protecting your frost-hardy crops so they thrive even more. Mulching. A thick layer of straw, leaves, or wood chips around your plants will help insulate the soil and protect roots from extreme freezes. Row covers or tunnels. Lightweight fabric covers trap just enough warmth to keep plants growing steadily, especially in zones 4 through 6. Succession planting. Don't plant everything at once. Space it out. That way, you'll have fresh harvests coming throughout the season. Companion planting. Pair frost-tolerant crops together. For example, carrots and parsnips grow happily side by side under mulch. These little steps make a big difference. Even hardy crops appreciate a helping hand. Now, let's take a moment to reflect. 9 vegetables: spinach, kale, carrots, cabbage, garlic, peas, onions, Brussels sprouts, and parsnips. Together, they form the backbone of a garden that doesn't quit, even when the nights are long and frosty. Think about it. While most people pack up their tools at the first sign of frost, you'll still be harvesting fresh, homegrown food right from your backyard. You'll be enjoying flavors that are actually enhanced by the cold: sweet carrots, nutty Brussels sprouts, hardy kale, and golden parsnips. And here's the real secret. Winter gardening isn't just about food. It's about hope, resilience, and connection. There's something deeply comforting about knowing your garden is alive and working, even in the toughest season. It's a reminder that growth never stops, it only changes. So let me ask you, are you ready to give winter gardening a try? Are you ready to walk out into the frosty air, brush back the mulch, and pull a sweet carrot or parsnip from the ground with your own hands? If the answer is yes, then hit that subscribe button right now. Join our growing community of gardeners who refuse to let frost stop them. Here we share tips, inspiration, and real results to keep your garden thriving all year long. And don't just subscribe, leave me a comment. Tell me which of these 9 frost-tolerant vegetables you're most excited to try this season. I read every comment, and I'd love to celebrate your successes with you. Because at the end of the day, gardening isn't just about plants. It's about people. It's about us coming together, sharing knowledge, and cheering each other on through every season. So go ahead, plant these frost-hardy champions. Watch them defy the cold and let your garden surprise you, even in the heart of winter.